If you went to any sleepover in the 1980s, you were well acquainted with the two movie slashers that stood severed head and burned up shoulders above all the rest. A Nightmare on Elm Street's Freddy Krueger and Friday the 13th's Jason Voorhees. Both were terrifying in their own way, but together, these guys would be your worst nightmare, twice. As far back as 1987, filmmakers attempted to give fans a dream match by pitting Freddy versus Jason on the big screen. But it wasn't until about 15 years ago, in 2003, that it finally happened. That story was not without bumps along the way. The project didn't really start coming together until New Line got the rights to the Friday the 13th films, which explains the ending of Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. Seems like the perfect lead into Freddy vs. Jason, you'd think, but it took another decade, at least a dozen screenwriters, and 18 drafts of the script to finally become a reality. As things started ramping up for production, director Ronny Yu began looking at how to bring this to life. Robert Englund seemed the natural choice to reprise the role as Freddy Krueger for the 8th and final time, though longtime Jason actor Kane Hodder was replaced by Ken Kurtzinger because the creative team reportedly wanted a performer who could tower over Englund's Freddy. Hodder has said that he was told that they wanted an actor with more expressive eyes, as in the eyes of a killer. Despite the snub, Hodder is actually in the movie thanks to a brief clip from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, in which he portrayed Leatherface during a stunt.
What does this shit do, anyway? How come we all have to take it?
Keeps you nice and docile while I kick your little ass.
But all of that was the undercard, and it's time for the main event. In one corner, we have the Springwood Slasher and the Terror of Elm Street with over 30 confirmed kills, Mr. Frederick Krueger! His challenger hails from beautiful Crystal Lake, New Jersey with nearly 150 murders to his name. Welcome, the master of the machete, Jason Voorhees! Let's do this. One of the most refreshing aspects of this movie was that it treated most of the previous films as canon, and Freddy Krueger was largely an open secret in Springwood. Turns out, the cops and other authority figures actually figured out how to stop Freddy's reign of terror by suppressing his legend, which weakened his powers.
There's nothing on Krueger, not his arrest, his death, not even a birth certificate. Whole sections of the records are gone.
They also prescribed a drug called Hypnosil to the town's teenagers, which induced a dreamless sleep, as in no nightmares on Elm Street or anywhere else. Interesting fact, Hypnosil was actually used by Nancy Thompson in Dream Warriors: A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Hypnosil is an effective sedative with some troubling side effects, including high blood pressure, stroke, stabbing pains throughout the body, and possible death. Ask your doctor if Hypnosil is right for you. Fortunately, Freddy had a plan to make the residents of Springwood fear him again by finding Jason in hell and tricking him into taking his act on the road. For a while, it actually worked, and Freddy was able to regain some of his lost power when Jason's new killing spree began. However, Jason was simply too good at murdering teens, and he started poaching Freddy's kills. Monica Keena played Laurie Campbell, a high school student with a family secret linked to Freddy's previous kills, while Jason Ritter portrayed her ex-boyfriend and fellow Freddy victim, Will Rollins. Destiny's Child member Kelly Rowland also starred as Kia Watterson, who actually mocked Freddy to his face. Ginger Snaps actress and Scream Queen Katharine Isabelle also had a role as Gibb Smith, Laurie's friend, and the first young woman to be stalked by both Freddy and Jason. It did not end well for her. Spoilers. Future Lost star and MCU wasp Evangeline Lilly even has a brief cameo here in one of her first film roles.
Because that's when he comes for you. In your dreams. You're lucky to be alive.
But let's be clear, nobody really cares about the kids in this film. This time, it's all about the ultimate slasher battle, and these two finally had a compelling reason to fight. Freddy realized that he had made a mistake by unleashing Jason and managed to bring their battle back into the dream world where he still had control. Also, it turns out that Jason had a fear of water all along. Which, then, how did he take Manhattan? No wonder that movie sucks. Back in the real world, Laurie and her friends came up with the idea of taking Jason's inert body back to Crystal Lake so he could put Freddy out of the nightmare realm once and for all, and gotta say, not a great plan. Jason immediately killed one of Laurie's friends after he woke up, and only Laurie and Will made it through the subsequent rampage. So, who won the battle royale? There's a strong argument that Jason came out on top, considering that he's still in one piece by the end of the film. Jason even impaled Freddy with his own severed arm before Laurie delivered the final blow, leaving Freddy as just a head. And yet, the filmmakers couldn't resist a touch of ambiguity by literally giving Freddy the last laugh. This movie was the end of both franchises before they received cinematic reboots. But there were 2 comic book sequels that added Evil Dead's Ash to the mix. Interestingly, this idea was also pitched to the studio, which would have had Bruce Campbell reprising his role as Ash Williams. Other alternate outcomes would have had Freddy and Jason encounter Pinhead from Hellraiser or eternally battled each other in hell for Satan's amusement. In the end, Freddy vs. Jason couldn't quite live up to the promise of its premise, but it's still fun to revisit their improbable battle and enjoy the movie for what it is. Who do you think should have won, Freddy or Jason? And what are your favorite parts of Freddy vs. Jason? Share your picks in the comment section below.